Hello guys, welcome back to another Ghost Reacts, and today we are doing something that's slightly bit different. We're reacting to 10 most badass warriors of all time. Yeah, we're doing this today because I can't really find anything else to look at, and I thought this would be a bit random, have a bit more random videos on this channel for reactions. So yeah, without further ado, we're just gonna get straight into it.
Freed. Here are 10 of the most badass warriors of all time.
Here we go.
Number 10. Telewickle. Telewickle was a Tolteca general who lived in the pre-16th century of what is now Mexico. It's said that this brutal warrior was captured by the Aztecs, but soon integrated into their community and became part of their clan. While nobody really knows why this savage warrior stayed with his captives, some claim it was because the women of the Aztecs all loved him. This was an understandable motivator for him to remain with his captors and become part of their nation. At some point, Telewickle was promoted to be the commander of one of the Aztec armies.
Telewickle,
legends say he was so large and powerful that none of the other soldiers could lift any of his weapons because they were just too heavy. However, when the Aztecs went to war with the Tlaxcala, the original tribe of Telewickle, he refused to fight for the Aztecs against his own people. He was also not allowed to go back to his own people to fight against the Aztecs. For this reason, he was stuck in the middle and had nowhere to go. Rather than fight against his clan, he requested to be given a warrior's death. This meant he was to fight as a gladiator until he died. But this was no easy feat for such a brutal warrior. He could not lay down and be killed, and so he fought back, and he killed 8 eagle warriors and wounded another 20 before he was finally taken down.
That's a badass right there.
After his death, Telewickle's heart was cut out by a high Aztec priest and sacrificed to the gods. What a legendary and savage soldier. I could never imagine being involved in that kind of armed combat. Could you? What would you do? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. There's lots.
It'd only be sick if you're brought up in that day and age, because in that day and age, you're brought up to fight because that's the only thing that you could do properly, like to survive and to earn money for your family. But like now, no way now. But if I was brought up then, yeah, definitely. Not now though. We do this other ways now.
Number 9, Galvandino. The story of Galvandino is extremely old. He was a Mapuche warrior who lived during the 1500s in South America. The army of Spanish conquistadors captured several thousand Mapuche Indians during the Battle of Lagunas, which took place in the land that is now part of modern-day Chile. The Spanish leader ordered his troops to cut off the right hand and nose of every warrior they captured. Unfortunately for Galvandino, he had both his hands cut off because he was the leader. This was done as a message to the Mapuche, a warning for them to give up or else they would meet horrible ends. In the case of Galvandino, the story goes that he offered up his hands to be cut off without even blinking. He then asked to be killed, but his captors denied his request. Instead, Galvandino and a few dozen other warriors were freed in order to tell their general to surrender, thus preventing further bloodshed. Instead of doing that, Galvandino continued to fight the Spanish intruders. But of course, he had no hands. It didn't do too much good to fight the enemy with no hands. So before the next attack, Galvandino fastened knives to both of his wrists. He basically turned himself into a real-life version of Edward Scissorhands.
Oh my god.
A month after he'd been captured and released, Galvandino fought at the Battle of Millarapque. The Mapuche lost dramatically to the Spanish commander Mendoza, and Galvandino was captured yet again. Despite cutting...
My man done a Freddy Krueger without the dream sequences. He had the glove and everything. He had the glove, but on both hands. Oh my god. This man came up with the Freddy Krueger app before Freddy Krueger came out. Fucking hell.
Down many men with his scissor hands, Galvandino was captured and sentenced to hang. Even today, Galvandino's story speaks volumes of the determination and fearsomeness of the Mapuche warriors of South America. These were not guys you would ever want to mess with. Number 8, Spartacus. There's no warrior in history more famous than Spartacus. He was a
he's only at number 8
who led a slave revolt with an enormous army against the Roman forces. Spartacus led his men up and down the Italian peninsula, defeating dozens of Roman attacks and earning his place as the most badass warrior in history. Today, you can find a marble statue of Spartacus at the Louvre Museum in Paris. He's immortalized in movies and TV and will likely continue to thrive in popular culture forever. But the truth of Spartacus's life is actually a little vague. According to Life Science, most experts agree that Spartacus was from Thrace, a small area in the southeast of Europe that the Romans subjugated during the 1st century BC. Spartacus likely served in the Roman auxiliary, at some point deserted, and likely became a bandit, and then was later captured and brought to Rome, where he was sold as a slave. Just like in the TV series, Spartacus was taken to a gladiator school in Capua, 120 miles south of Rome. And while at the school, Spartacus helped to organize a breakout of about 70 gladiators, all of whom escaped armed with knives and other makeshift weapons from the kitchen. Here, Spartacus went on to build a massive army that was able to challenge the very might of Rome. However, his revolt eventually came to an end, and Spartacus was killed in battle in April of 71 BC.
He died on his shield, though.
To this day, he's widely regarded as one of the toughest and most impressive warriors of all time.
Yes.
Number 7, Miyamoto Musashi.
Who?
Miyamoto Musashi was born in the Year of the Monkey.
Oh, is this the samurai one?
Miyamoto was a samurai wizard. It's unlikely that he actually practiced magic, but he did teach himself the art of swordplay from a very young age.
Yeah,
By the time Miyamoto was 13 years old, he was traveling around Japan and challenging grown men to sword duels. As the legend goes, Miyamoto's father was also a swordsman and a martial artist. Scholars are unsure whether Miyamoto learned much of how to sword fight from his father, but there is an agreement about Miyamoto's bathing habits. The legend claims that he never bathed because he did not want to be taken by surprise and killed while bathing. So he just decided not to. Though his stench likely distracted his opponents in battle, which gave him another advantage. It's claimed that throughout Miyamoto's life, he had over 60 duels and never suffered a single loss, which would make him one of the best swordsmen to have ever picked up a blade. He even wrote a book about how to handle a sword so that others could learn from his secrets. It's rumored that he gave his brother the book before he died in the year 1645. It was later translated to English in 1974 and has been deeply studied. Miyamoto Musashi perished with his walking cane in one hand and his sword in the other, and his violent life gifted him a prominent place in Japanese history as one of the most impressive swordsmen of all time. Number 6.
Hang on, I swear that the game what's it called? I've got it here somewhere. Can't remember what it's called. The Ghost of I've forgotten the... I don't want to mess up the name because I love the game so much. I've forgotten the name of it. The Ghost of something, and you're like the guy. Like I think it's that the game's based off the person from this this. Look, I love that game so much. It will if it is based off what I think it is, then yeah. If you haven't played the game, it's Ghost of something. It starts with T. I've forgotten the name of it. I know people will probably put down in the comments what the name of it is, but I can't think of it right now. But yeah, let's just continue.
Flama. Flama, or the Flame, was a Roman soldier born as Marcus Calpurnius Flama. He fought in the First Punic War, leading over 300 soldiers straight into the heart of Carthage on a brutal rescue mission. Carthage was once a major city in the old days of the Roman Empire, and is now a small town in the northern African country of Tunisia. Back during the first of several wars between the Carthaginians and the Romans, this mission failed and nearly all of Flama's men were killed in battle. The legend goes that Flama was pulled out from under the massive pile of his dead soldiers and then taken prisoner and sent to a gladiator school.
Oh yeah, that's it. Goes to Hiroshima, something like that. Something like that.
It turned out
that's
there
the game.
were two things that Flama loved quite a bit. The first was being famous, and the second was fighting. He found his niche as a brutal gladiator and refused to stop fighting. Nobody even needed to force him to fight. In drastic contradiction to Spartacus, Flama had no desire for liberation. Even after Flama won his freedom by defeating his enemies in the ring, he declined. Rather than be a free man, Flama preferred to stay as a slave and fight again and again. Apparently, he just wasn't impressed enough with himself and wanted to earn his freedom more times. It's recorded that he actually won his freedom and the famous wooden baton known as Rudius that was so coveted by all other gladiators 4 different times. but he denied it each and every time so he could keep on fighting. Flama was eventually killed during his 22nd arena fight at the tender age of 30.
That's just someone who just loves fighting.
By normal standards, this guy was at least a little bit sadistic and also a little bit out of his right mind. Number 5, Xiao
Bit more
Dun.
than a little bit.
Xiao Dun was
Number
one of
5.
the greatest military generals in the Han Dynasty. He was known widely throughout China as Blind Xiao, and he got his name because of a battle in which he got shot in the eye with an arrow. One of the legends says that Xiao actually pulled the arrow out of his eye socket and then popped his eyeball into his mouth and ate it to show off his ferocity.
Are you
Nobody
taking
knows
the
for sure if
piss?
this actually happened, but it's one of the myths surrounding this incredible warrior. In fact, there is really not much more disturbing and terrifying than pulling out your own eye and eating it, let's be honest. This allowed him to become the brutal one-eyed warrior. While much of his life is shrouded in ancient Chinese politics having to do with different governors and
How nuts do you have to be to do that? You must be, like, borderline psychotic to do that. Oh my god. What?
provincial squabbles, the basic truth is that he was a savage warrior. He was also a great leader and led many successful campaigns against rival factions. He saved farmers from droughts and locust infestations, and he defended the homeland with brutal efficiency. He was eventually promoted to general in the year 204 and continued fighting all the way until 220, helping to defeat Emperor Xian before ultimately succumbing to nature. He died of natural causes several months after the death of his leader, Chow Chow.
Chow Chow.
His story is part of the famous legendary romance of the Three Kingdoms. One of the greatest tales.
Such a cool name, Chow Chow. What a name.
4, Arminius. Arminius was born somewhere around 18 BC as the son of a German barbarian chief. However, Arminius ended up being captured as a child, and in the year 1 AD, he was forced to join the Roman army as a hostage. But this afforded him some pretty good training. He was trained in expert Roman military tactics and eventually became an actual Roman citizen. Little did the Romans know that later on, all that training would turn against them. The most impressive battle that Arminius is known for is the Battle of Teutoburg Forest. He first reported to his superiors that there was a rebellion going on in the north of Germany, persuading the leaders to divert 3 full legions to squash the rebellion. Of course, the rebellion was not real, and the 3 legions marched directly into a trap. Arminius ended up ambushing the Roman soldiers with his own men, killing about 20,000 people. By the time the Roman generals realized they had been outsmarted, it was too late. Arminius successfully destroyed the 3 legions and continued to drive the Romans out of Germany. This was one of the biggest defeats for the Roman Empire, and they were not very happy about it. They retaliated, but Arminius simply pushed them back every time, using his superior intellect and fighting skills. This story does take a pretty sad turn, though, as Arminius was eventually married, only to have his wife captured by the Romans, and his son grow up in Roman custody just like he had. Arminius was then killed by a rival Germanic chief, not even by the Romans he had come to despise, and his story came to a tragic end. Number 3, Hutan. Hutan might be the most unique warrior of all time. She was a fearsome Mongolian princess who, according to Marco Polo himself, was so strong and powerful that she could have been a giantess.
First female
was even dramatized on the recent television show Marco Polo. Hutan was the cousin of Kublai Khan, one of the most brutal Khans of all time, and grandson of the great Genghis Khan.
This guy was nutty.
Royalty, she was also one of the most skilled warriors in the Mongolian Empire.
Oh, I believe
She was proficient in fighting. She was excellent on a horse, and she was one of the best wrestlers in the world. In fact, whenever she had a suitor ask for her hand in marriage, she forced them to fight her in a wrestling match. However, none of them could beat her in a match, and so she never got married to any of them. But she did collect horses from all the losing suitors until she had a collection of over 10,000 horses. That makes her one impressively tough lady.
Wow.
When her father was dying, he tried to name her the successor of the Mongolian Empire, but the military and political advisors would not allow a woman to rule anything.
You know.
And so she never did get the throne.
She badass.
She did marry, though, after picking a man herself. She ended up guarding her father's tomb for 5 years after his death, until she eventually died as well. But she left quite the legacy behind. In Hannah Jewell's book, She Caused a Riot, she wrote that Hutan left the Mongolian steppes littered with debris of shattered male egos. If ever there was a woman worthy of being a feminist icon, it's Hutan. Number 2. Lubus.
So true.
Lubus was another warrior from the era of the Han Dynasty, living at the same time as Xiao Dun. His nickname was the Invincible Warrior. and he was one of the most feared warriors in the entire country.
Why is that?
Lubus was a master archer, a master horseman, and a master fighter in hand-to-hand combat. However, it's said that his loyalty was not very stable. He supposedly abandoned his family roots to join a rival master named Dong Zhu after he offered Lubus the fastest horse in the land. He gave up his loyalty for a horse. But then, when things began to go badly for his new lord, Lubus simply shrugged off his loyalty and assassinated him. He then spent most of his life wandering around central and northern China, associating with local warlords. He went on to defeat Chow Chow, the master of Hutan, in a battle, but was eventually run off. Lubus joined forces with yet another warlord named Yan Shu and tried to defeat Chow Chow once and for all, but he was defeated with the help of Hutan, the one-eyed warrior. This once invincible warrior was then put to death at the command of Chow Chow. Number 1, Prince Rupert of the Rhine.
So he had to have help. The invincible warrior had to have help. So he's not really invincible then, is he? He had to have help from the one-eyed warrior. Pretty suspicious.
Prince Rupert of the Rhine was born in 1619 in Prague, now the capital of the Czech
Republic. Hang on, that name rings a bell.
According to Britannica, he was the most talented commander of the English Civil War.
Yeah, this rings a bell. This name rings a bell.
1651. His tactical genius was unparalleled, and his technique as a cavalry officer has earned him a place in the halls of history as a seriously amazing warrior. Prince Rupert was the nephew of King Charles I and fought for him against the imperial forces in the 30 Years' War in the year 1638. However, this was in his youth, and he was captured and eventually held in Austria.
Did I do this in school? I must have done this in school because I remember this. I remember his name.
His uncle Charles I, just before the outbreak of the Civil War. He received full command over the cavalry at this young age of 23 and led his troops to many victories. He took Bristol in 1643, Nottinghamshire in 1644, and most of Lancashire in the same year. Unfortunately, he was soundly defeated by Oliver Cromwell in Yorkshire, but despite his loss, Rupert was made the Duke of Cumberland and became the commander of the King's armies in November of 1644.
Lucky guy, you know.
His great military prowess went on for a little longer, but he was eventually defeated and forced to surrender the city of Bristol, at which point the king dismissed him from his command in 1646. After the king was defeated by the Scots, Rupert was banished from England. After his banishment, Rupert turned to piracy and moved to Germany, then was again given a position of naval command in the Third Dutch War. He even became the first governor of the Hudson's Bay Company in 1670 before dying. He truly led quite an extraordinary life, if you ask me.
Is this... I swear I've seen this guy, this face. Is it, Curse of Oak Island? Is this one of the guys that went there? I'm gonna have to watch that series, like the whole thing again, because I swear this guy is something to do with Oak Island. That last guy, if you know anything to do with the last guy on there, because his name rings a bell for me. Could you find, like, if you know the answers, if he's to do with the Curse of Oak Island, which is an island in America, has loads of conspiracies behind this island or whatever. It's super, like, apparently pirates went there, the Templars and all that went there apparently. So I feel like this guy was one of them that went there. So if you know that, can you please put down in the comments if that's true or not? If it's not, then that's my bad. I've called that wrong. But if it is, then I'm gonna have to watch it again, because I love that show. As well as Hunting Hitler. I love Hunting Hitler, and anything to do with Jack the Ripper, I'm also all over as well. Oh, yes, right. But yeah, that's the end of the video today. If you like this content, please smash the like button down below. If you're not a subscriber, please smash the subscribe button along with the notification bell to be notified when I'm doing an upload like this. Also, down in the comments below, also to tell me what I should be doing reactions to next. And until next time, I will see you then. Goodbye.